Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Robert, and welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to try to go over a few interesting stories, and I really want to get people involved if they're interested, right? I went ahead and put a link in if you want to come on the live stream and talk about any of these issues today. I'm really looking for people that have any firsthand knowledge or have any thoughts on the Illinois rabies case. Why did this guy turn down the post-exposure prophylaxis? We'll also be looking at the H5N6 avian influenza situation in China. And if there's anybody that has firsthand information on that, I'd love to hear about it. Click on the link and I'll bring you on. Just remember that this is a clean show, and I will not accept any cussing, so just beware of that. Also in South Asia, right? India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, we're seeing surges of dengue fever. So anybody that can talk about this topic, I'd love to have you on. And if you don't want to come on the show, you can still comment, or you can ask questions via YouTube or via Facebook, depending on which medium you're using to watch. And I'll close it out today with Nigeria, and it's starting to chill out a little bit, but they went through a pretty serious measles outbreak this year. So we'll take a look at that, and measles ain't the only thing going on in Nigeria. But anyway, yeah, it is a Saturday morning where I am, and a beautiful, beautiful sunny day in the Sunshine State. Very happy to be here. And let's go ahead and start with the Illinois rabies case. And the irony here is, and hopefully you guys checked it out, but on Tuesday, which was World Rabies Day, I did a special live stream with a couple of experts, Doctors Wilson and Dr. Rohde. And we spent a good portion of time discussing bats and a bat bite and when you should get post-exposure prophylaxis if you find a bat in your house. So we did spend some significant time on it. We did talk about post-exposure prophylaxis. I mean, rabies. If you get bit by a rabid animal and you don't get post-exposure prophylaxis, it is essentially a death sentence, right? This is probably the most lethal virus there is. So let's go ahead and take a look at that story out of Illinois, which ironically happened on World Rabies Day. Right after we got off from the live stream, I found the news release from the Illinois Department of Health. And this is what it had to say. And let me look at it, and you can read along with me. So they had the first human rabies case in the state in 67 years, right? 1954 was the last time. And here's some of the details, right? In mid-August, a Lake County resident in his 80s awoke to a bat on his neck. The bat was captured and tested positive for rabies. The individual was advised he needed to start post-exposure rabies treatment, but he declined it. 1 month later, the individual began experiencing symptoms consistent with rabies, including neck pain, headache, difficulty controlling his arms, finger numbness, and difficulty speaking. And the individual subsequently died. Let's see if there's any other important details here. Yes, here's something. And we talked about this on the live stream on Tuesday. People usually know when they have been bitten by a bat, but bats have very small teeth, and the bite mark may not be easy to see. So if you find yourself in close proximity to a bat and are not sure if you were exposed, for example, you wake up and find a bat in your room, do not release the bat, as it should be appropriately captured for rabies testing. And contact your doctor, local health department to determine whether you've been exposed and if you need post-exposure prophylaxis. So that's the story. So there's a lot of questions here, right? Let me get back to this and move out. Let's get back to does anybody out there understand why this gentleman, he was in his 80s, so between 80 and 89, as far as I know, and he turned it down knowing that the bat was rabid. Anybody have any ideas why he turned down this life-saving treatment? Was it the cost of rabies vaccine? Was he didn't believe in the vaccine? The health officials had to explain this to him, that this was a matter of life and death, and he still turned it down. If anybody has any firsthand knowledge, if you're from the state of Illinois, you've worked on this case, we'd love to hear from you and see what the thought process of this man was. Beck's Bit of Blue from YouTube says maybe he was done living. Well, I don't know. But I would like to know what his real thought process was, because he had to speak to health officials there about it. Because as soon as he said no, they knew that his days were numbered, right? In this case, it was somewhere around 30 days. But yeah, serious stuff. And you don't want to play around. In the U.S., typically, if there is a human rabies case, which averages between 1 and 3 cases annually, it is due to a bat bite. And sometimes people that just didn't know they got bit. They could be sleeping, they got bit by a bat, never felt it, you never saw the bite marks, and lo and behold, they pass away from a pretty horrible death, being rabies. All right. Well, if you have anything to share on that topic, I'd love to hear from you. I put a link on both the comment section of Facebook and YouTube, and you click that on. Just set up your name, set up your camera and microphone, and come on if you want to talk about any of these topics. Other topics I would like to talk about, which is not something that I'm going to be presenting today, but is COVID-19. And what is the situation in your state? Or if you're not in the United States, what's the situation in your country? I'd love to hear about it. And if you had it, did you have a asymptomatic case? Was it mild, or was it more serious? One of my coworkers just went through it, and she said it was the worst illness she ever had. I mean, obviously she survived, was never hospitalized, but that's how bad she said it was. So I'd love to hear about that. Also, what's the vaccination status in your state or in your country? How are they doing with that? Love to hear more about that. All right. Well, since nobody has anything on the rabies case, I'm going to go ahead and get out of that and move on to the next topic, which is the H5N6 avian influenza situation in China, particularly this year. Okay, so hopefully you should be able to see that. Let me make that larger, and we'll take a look at that. And this is from the Hong Kong Center for Health Protection. And they keep a pretty close eye on things that are going on in the mainland, and they get notifications. And just 2 days ago, they reported 2 more human cases of H5N6 avian influenza. And the day before that, there was a fatal case. But on this particular day, there was a 55-year-old man from Guangxi province. He had exposure to live poultry markets before he developed symptoms. And he was admitted for treatment on August 30th. He's in serious condition currently. And the second case was a 72-year-old man living in, I believe that's Sichuan province. Again, he had contact with sick poultry before the onset of symptoms. He was admitted, and then he did pass away. But this is the key thing I wanted to look at is since the first case was detected or identified in 2014 in China, there's been 47 human cases reported. But just in the past 10 or 11 months, all of this year and maybe the last month or two of last year, about half of those cases were reported. So between 2014 and say mid 20, sorry, the phone's ringing, mid 2020, they saw about 20 something cases. And then all of a sudden in the past 10, 11 months, that amount of cases has doubled. So let's see if anybody knows anything about that, right? This is not a virus that's known to be transmitted human to human, not easily at least. So it is typically exposure to poultry, live poultry from markets like that. Sometimes there are some fatalities, so it can get serious. Anybody know anything about this? Is anybody from Hong Kong, anybody from China on the live stream? Because China definitely knows about it because there's been a couple of studies from the China CDC talking about H5N6 of recent, but nothing's really been pinpointed to, why are the numbers up this year? Actually up dramatically if you compare it to the past 7 years. And, is there more? Is there more we're not hearing about? Love to hear your thoughts on that. So that's something we're taking a look at the website, outbreaknewstoday.com. Okay. And remember, if you got any comments or any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comment section of the Facebook page or the YouTube page. And if you want to talk live, I'll bring you on. There's a link in the comment section that I put there. And if you can talk about any of these topics or the COVID topics that I talked about a little bit earlier, let's go ahead and chat about it a little bit. I'd like to get some on the ground information on some of these, if anybody's out there that has any inside scoop. All right. Well, the next topic I want to look at is dengue fever. And the usual suspects are reporting a lot of dengue, right? Brazil, a couple other countries in South America. Vietnam's reporting a lot. The Philippines is reporting, several tens of thousands. But in parts of South Asia, we're seeing some surges of dengue fever. In Bangladesh, for example, just in September, they reported nearly 8,000 cases alone. We're seeing a lot of areas of India reporting increases of dengue fever. And then what's been popping up in the news lately is Pakistan. Let's go ahead and see what some of the news is saying out of Pakistan. All right. So we got a spike of cases being reported out of KP and Punjab. And let's see what they say. Pakistan's health authorities are struggling to contain the spread of dengue virus while battling the coronavirus pandemic. Punjab and KP, I'm not even going to, Khyber something, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, are the two provinces where most of the cases are being reported, with 905 cases from Lahore, which is a city. The total tally of dengue virus cases has surged to over 1,000 cases. At least 90 cases of dengue have been reported across Punjab over the past 24 hours, 81 in Lahore by itself. Islamabad has seen 32 more cases in the past day, and their total is closing in on 200 cases. With the surge of daily cases, health officials are making efforts to contain the threat of a possible outbreak. It might be there already. Um, and it says, we are continuously monitoring the situation for both dengue and COVID-19 as our teams are out making all necessary efforts. And that is a bit of a struggle, right? Because in particular, the early on symptomology for both COVID-19 and dengue overlap a lot. So that is a challenge. Health officials have deployed teams to carry out fumigation and spray in areas where the dengue larvae have been found to clean up the mosquito breeding sites. And a little history: Pakistan has experienced several dengue outbreaks since the first outbreak in 1994. That's interesting. Two major outbreaks were reported in 2005, which there were 6,000 cases and 52 fatalities. And in 2011 in Karachi, there was more than 21,000 cases reported from Karachi. So, yeah. So, anybody know anything about what's going on in South Asia? Is wet season, monsoon season? I know in Bangladesh, if we go back just to 2019, they saw a record of over 100,000 cases, which was more than all the cases they've reported since the prior 20 years. So, yeah, right. And dengue outbreaks, they occur. At least it appears they occur every 3 to 5 years. So what's going on in South Asia? Anybody out there from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh who can share some thoughts on this? Any information that you have from on the ground of what's going on in any of these countries? Love to hear more about it. Just go ahead and click the link in the comment section of either the Facebook page or the YouTube channel, depending on where you're watching from. All right. Now, I have a comment from somebody on Facebook named Kassin. And Kassin writes, dengue, Nigeria, soap okay. Kassin, if you want to share what that means, I would love to hear more about that. I don't really understand what that means. Bex Bido Blue, he's watching from East Washington State. Bex, what's the situation with COVID over there? Love to hear more. So you must be close to the Idaho border. And I know there's been some issues with Idaho having higher COVID cases, and they've been seeking out help from Washington hospitals. If you know anything about that, I'd love to hear more about that. But all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and move on from the dengue situation in South Asia and go on to the next thing, and that's Nigeria. And if anybody's from Nigeria and would like to chime in on this, love to hear what you got to say. But I want to take a look at the cholera outbreak. Now, Nigeria is going through more than just cholera, right? They have a Lassa fever outbreak right now. They're still seeing monkeypox. They're dealing with COVID, of course. What else is going on in Nigeria? I know there's yellow fever. As a matter of fact, the CDC just put out a travel notice about yellow fever in Nigeria if you're headed that way. So those are just some of the things that Nigeria are facing. So, they're battling outbreaks on all corners. But let's look at what's going on with the cholera outbreak, because it is a big one. It's very big. And let's see, Nigeria faces one of its worst cholera outbreaks in years. And let's go down here and find out some of the text here. This year's cholera outbreak, with a higher case fatality rate than in previous 4 years, is worsened by what many consider to be a bigger priority for state governments, the COVID-19 pandemic. Nigeria faces a resurgence of cases driven by the Delta variant, and less than 1% of the population has been fully vaccinated. Well, I guess that answers my question concerning vaccination status, at least in this country. Now, this article, which is a couple weeks old, says there's about 70,000 suspected cholera cases as of September 5th. Well, the latest numbers are well over 80,000 now, and over 2,300, 2,400 fatalities due to cholera. And this is spread out through dozens of states in Nigeria. And they say at least 23 people have died. 2,323 have died from suspected cholera this year. But there are concerns this might be an undercount, given that many affected communities are hard to reach areas. States in Nigeria's north, where flooding and poor sanitation increase the risk of transmission, are hardest hit. There's 19 states in the north that account for 98% of the suspected cases. Cholera is endemic and seasonal in Nigeria, where only 14% of the population of more than 200 million have access to safely managed drinking water supply services, according to government data from 2020, which also shows that open defecation is still practiced by at least 30% of residents in 14 states. Okay, so now, here we go. Nigeria is also experiencing outbreaks of yellow fever, Lassa, measles, and other infectious diseases. We must remain conscious that these multiple outbreaks can further strain our health system, they say. So, yeah, anybody know what's going on in Nigeria? All right, big cholera outbreak, 80. Let me see if I got the exact numbers. I'm sure I do. Let me get that up real quick. Nigeria, here we go. Okay, this is the latest cholera situation in Nigeria. And we see, so for the first 37 weeks of the year through September 19th, there's been 81,413 suspected cases. And, I was a little off on the deaths. Almost 2,800 fatalities among the suspected cases. So, yeah. But the good news, there is a good, a silver lining here. And from week to week, the week ending September 19th, there's been a 38% decrease in the number of new cases compared to the week ending September 12th. So that is promising. And and unfortunately, the age group that's being hit the hardest are children, ages 5 to 14, right? And cholera is very, very serious. It's very serious. The toxin that it produces basically causes the intestines to just like flood out water, right? And that's why you see something called rice water stool when somebody has Vibrio cholera. It's basically water and like little plugs in it, and they make it look like rice water. So it's very devastating because without fluids, people die from dehydration. I've read once in a textbook that you can lose your whole body weight in fluids in just a couple days. That's how devastating it can be. So serious stuff going on in Nigeria. So anybody from Nigeria that can talk about this cholera outbreak? I mean, it looks like it's in 37 different states. So there must be somebody out there that's aware of it. I'm not sure how many states are in Nigeria, but I'm pretty sure that's the vast majority. Or if you know what's going on with the measles outbreak. I know there's over 10,000 measles cases this year. And Nigeria continues to report, several cases of Lassa fever and some deaths almost on a weekly basis. They're seeing, a handful of monkeypox cases each month. So does anybody know anything about what's going on in Nigeria? I'd love to hear more about it. But so a lot of stuff going on, and not all of it's COVID. I mean, if you watch, the news, it seems like COVID is the only thing that's going on, but go to a lot of these other countries. They're being devastated by a lot of other diseases. Look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo, all the things they've gone through over the years. At the same time, they would be battling, measles, monkeypox, Ebola, and other diseases, acute diarrhea, all kinds of stuff, all at the same time. Very, very devastating. And, and then there's always COVID there in the background. So those are the stories I wanted to cover today. Anybody's got any questions or want to discuss anything, we can do that. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and shut off in a minute. I was hoping to get some people that wanted to come on the show and talk, but I guess that's not going to happen today, but that's okay. And I want to encourage you to, of course, check out the website. It's outbreaknewstoday.com. We try to be a even distributor of news, so not everything is COVID. We're always seeking out news from all over the world on all kinds of infectious diseases. So there is a lot of stuff going on around there. So in the website, if you check it out, it is broken down basically by continent, right? So you have Africa, Asia, Australia, et cetera, et cetera. And then I have, sections for vaccine news, sections for research news. Definitely worth checking out. Try to keep pretty current on it. Try to keep up to date on it. I appreciate it when you all visit the website. Keep it going. The latest podcast was the rabies live stream. That's an hour and a half long. But if you go to the Outbreak News TV YouTube page and watch it, it was actually, the hour and a half went by pretty fast, I have to say. And it was quite entertaining. Doctors Wilson and Rhodey, who I've spoke to in the past. This is not a new rodeo for them, but their knowledge of rabies is unequivocal. It's amazing, and they did a fantastic job. So it's entertaining and incredibly informative. Very, very, very good guest. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, I encourage you to check it out. It's on the YouTube page. You can also find it on the website, outbreaknewstoday.com, under the Outbreak News Interviews banner. All right. Well, anyway, I want to do one last check for comments. Nothing going on. I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see you next time. Keep your eye out for all the latest. There's a plague, not a bubonic plague outbreak, but a pneumonic plague outbreak going on in Madagascar. So you can check out that kind of news on the website also. I have podcasts that cover most of these topics, name an infectious disease, and I probably talk to some expert on that infectious disease. So you can check us out at Outbreak News Interviews on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or probably a dozen other podcast platforms. So I encourage you to check that out too. All right. Well, have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll see you next time. And y'all take care. All right. Thanks.